Torah portion of Pekude, there are a couple of different stories that I really believe share the same theme. I'll start with this one. Moshe tells God, as they're about to inaugurate the traveling temple, the temple that went with the Jewish people throughout their 40-year journey in the desert and was de facto the temple until the temple by King Solomon was built in Jerusalem. He said, everybody has a role to play. The Jews contributed, the tribe of Levi, of which is my tribe, they're going to be responsible for the packing and then unpacking of the tabernacle as it has to be built and dismantled. My brother and his clan, his family have become Kohanim priests. They are actually the servants of the temple. They're going to be doing all the services that were necessary, the kindling of the menorah. But I really have played no role in it. So God said, you're right. So I'll tell you what, Moshe, there's a 7-day period, an inaugural period to the temple. And the Levites, don't know how to build a temple. They don't know how to dismantle it in an orderly fashion that it could be put away so that it can be easily identified, so it can be put up quickly when they come to the next stop, the next camp. So Hashem tells Moshe, for 7 days, you're going to show everybody. You're going to put up this temple and you're going to dismantle it. The next day, you're going to put it up and you'll dismantle it. And even though the temple was dismantled and built possibly in a day, but that was entire clans of families that did that. So Moshe looks at God and says, that's impossible. I can't possibly do this on my own. So God said to Moshe, you know what? You just you attempt it. You grab onto that beam. You lean against something. You look like you're putting something in. And I really will be making it happen on its own. So that when people look, they'll see somehow you're picking up a beam. Really, which is impossible. I'll be picking it up. You'll just be going through the motions. And that's what Moshe did for 7 days. He put it all up, dismantled it, put it all up, and he dismantled it. Question is, why did God do that? And I think there was a message that God was telling Moshe, which Moshe was displaying to the Jewish people, that in life, we cannot always attempt to do something that we know without doubt that we can finish it or certainly accomplish it. Sometimes you just have to tend to it. Sometimes you just have to start the process. Even though in the back of your mind, you may think it's impossible, that I'll never be able to really do the entire task. Hashem says, you start, and it's possible that I'll intervene. I'll make sure that it goes where it needs to go. I'll make sure that you accomplish what you started out to, even though really it was impossible for you to do. And we find this also when the people of Israel were asked to become the skilled persons, the artisans, the people that put together the tapestries of the tabernacle, the ones that fashioned the beams for the walls, and the menorah and the ark, these golden artifacts for the temple. Jews were slaves. They were brick makers, bricklayers. They didn't have the skill sets to be able to do that. So how do they didn't use outside help. And it's the same thing the Torah tells us, that that all the work of the temple was finished and the Jews did what God had told them. Really, it should be the other way around. God told them to do something and they finished the work. But this is once again the same message. They didn't have necessarily the skill set, but God said, you do the best you can. And you'll be surprised at the end what your tapestry looks like. You'll be surprised at the end to see how your copper wash basin turned out. You'll be amazed by how that showbread table looks by the time you're finished. Why? Because sometimes siyata d'shmaya, a little help from heaven, provides you to finish a task that you were pretty certain that you would not be able to do completely on your own. And this is why King David, in chapter 62 of Tehillim, he says, Ki ata teshalem leish k'ma'aseu. You pay the people according to their deeds. What does that mean? Not that if somebody has a good thought and wants to do a good mitzvah, wants to really, be there for somebody, really wants to do something nice, but unfortunately couldn't do it. So many times the Torah does tell us that Hashem says, listen, He'll consider it as though you did it, you really wanted to, but really the more important element is that Hashem pays us back according to our deeds. What does that mean? Even deeds that we simply started and we couldn't finish. We wanted to, but it became impossible. Hashem says, don't worry, because all I'm looking for is that you attempt it. All I'm looking for is that you believe that it's necessary for you and you want to do it, but you simply aren't sure whether you can finish it. And even if you don't, I will reward you because you started it. I will reward you because you attempted it. And many times you'll be pleasantly surprised that you were able to finish it, because Hashem gave you a little siyata d'shmaya, a little help from heaven. And with that help, you surprised yourself and got the task done. So don't shy away from things that you think you aren't able to finish. Because first of all, number one, as Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers say, is not for us to finish. We simply have to start something. And even when we do start something, thinking that we will not be able to get it done, Hashem says, don't worry, because I'll push you along. And together, we will create beautiful things. Have a great Shabbos.